Former President Donald Trump has once again revived his controversial idea of Canada becoming America's 51st state, a notion that has sparked debate and headlines on both sides of the border. Trump is calling it a logical next step for the two closely connected nations, emphasizing their shared history, values, and economic ties. He frames annexation as a practical solution to ongoing trade and defense disputes, suggesting it would simplify complex negotiations, reduce bureaucratic red tape, and save both countries significant costs in the long run. Trump's latest comments came after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney firmly dismissed the proposal, but Trump insists the idea is still on the table and worth serious consideration. This renewed rhetoric has forced Canadian leaders to respond publicly, even though there is little real support for annexation among Canadians, who largely value their independence. Trump argues that a formal union would strengthen both economies and defense, eliminating the need for constant, sometimes contentious negotiations over trade, security, and border issues. By repeatedly raising the issue, he keeps pressure on Canada's government and ensures annexation remains a recurring topic in bilateral relations, fueling ongoing debate. For Trump, integration is a logical extension of the country's close ties and shared interests, while for Canada, maintaining independence is non-negotiable and central to its national identity. Most experts see Trump's proposal as a political tactic designed to energize his base, but it still manages to impact Canada's political landscape and public discourse. The idea finds a small but vocal audience among some Western Canadian separatists, who see closer ties with the U.S. as a way to address their own regional grievances, further complicating internal Canadian politics. This ongoing conversation has become a defining feature of the current U.S. Canada dynamic, shaping how both countries interact on the world stage. Canadian officials are now forced to defend their sovereignty and national interests not just at home, but also in front of the international community. The debate highlights the deep differences in how each country views their partnership, with Americans often seeing opportunity and Canadians seeing a need for caution and autonomy. Trump's persistence ensures the issue remains a point of tension in the relationship, keeping both governments and their citizens on alert for what might come next. In response to recent tensions, Prime Minister Mark Carney has chosen calm diplomacy over direct confrontation, setting a tone of measured leadership in a turbulent time. Rather than escalating rhetoric, he downplays Trump's annexation talk, suggesting the U.S. leader no longer seriously pursues the idea, and that such statements are more bluster than policy. Carney's strategy is to lower the political temperature and reassure Canadians that their sovereignty is not under threat, emphasizing unity and national confidence in the face of uncertainty. He avoids public fights, focusing instead on stability and careful management of diplomatic ties, working quietly behind the scenes to build consensus and trust. Carney uses the moment to highlight Canada's independence and growing global partnerships, especially with Europe and Australia, showcasing new trade agreements and joint initiatives. He points to new defense agreements in the Arctic as proof of Canada's active role on the world stage, demonstrating a commitment to both security and international cooperation. Carney cleverly turns Trump's criticism of Canada's military spending into a positive, noting that U.S. pressure helped Canada meet its NATO commitments, strengthening its alliances and credibility. This approach shows Canada as a responsible, capable partner, not dependent on the U.S. but able to stand on its own and contribute meaningfully to global affairs. Carney's calm, strategic responses contrast sharply with Trump's bold statements, highlighting a difference in leadership styles that resonates with both Canadians and the international community. He manages the narrative, presenting Canada as strong and independent, and ensuring that the public sees the government as proactive and in control. By focusing on global alliances, Carney demonstrates that Canada has options beyond its southern neighbor, building bridges across continents and diversifying its partnerships. His leadership reassures both Canadians and international partners, fostering a sense of stability and optimism for the future. Carney's diplomatic style is defined by composure and quiet strength, earning respect for his ability to navigate complex situations with grace. He turns potential weaknesses into opportunities to reinforce Canada's sovereignty, ensuring the nation's voice remains strong and respected on the world stage. U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra has tried to soften the impact of Trump's annexation remarks. He frames Trump's comments as a term of endearment, suggesting they reflect genuine respect for Canada. Hoekstra emphasizes the strong personal relationship between Trump and Carney, downplaying any real conflict. He insists Carney understands the remarks aren't serious policy proposals. This diplomatic spin aims to reassure Canadians and keep trade negotiations on track. The ambassador's explanation comes as the two countries navigate a tense trade dispute over Canada's digital services tax. Hoekstra hopes to prevent Trump's rhetoric from derailing economic talks. However, not everyone is convinced by the endearment narrative. Trump's persistence makes it hard to dismiss his words as mere jokes. Canadian officials remain uneasy, tasked with defending their independence. Hoekstra's role highlights the challenge of representing a leader with such unconventional diplomatic language. The ambiguity leaves allies guessing about the true intent behind Trump's words. Trump often uses annexation talk as leverage in tough trade negotiations, making it a signature part of his approach to international deals. The idea surfaces whenever disputes arise, such as over tariffs or Canada's digital services tax, and it quickly grabs headlines on both sides of the border. By raising the prospect of annexation, Trump creates uncertainty and pressure, seeking concessions from Canada and signaling that no option is off the table. A recent example, when the U.S. halted trade talks over the digital tax, negotiations only resumed after Canada withdrew the proposal, showing how effective this tactic can be. Ambassador Hoekstra called the tax a red line, illustrating how economic threats and annexation rhetoric work together to shape the conversation. These tactics force Canadian officials to balance defending national interests with managing a powerful neighbor, often putting them in a difficult position. Trump's negotiation style relies on tough talk and high stakes, keeping his counterparts guessing about his next move. The annexation idea, even if unrealistic, serves as a bargaining chip that can shift the tone of discussions dramatically. It reminds Canada of the U.S.'s economic and political power, reinforcing the imbalance in the relationship. This approach keeps Canada on the defensive in trade discussions, forcing them to constantly reassess their strategies. The rhetoric turns every negotiation into a broader debate about the country's fundamental relationship, raising questions about sovereignty and long-term cooperation. Trump's strategy ensures the stakes always feel higher for Canada, making each round of talks more intense and consequential than the last. In response to U.S. pressure, Canada is strengthening ties with other global partners. Prime Minister Carney is forging new alliances in Europe and Australia. Reducing reliance on the U.S. defense cooperation in the Arctic is a key focus, showcasing Canada's ability to manage its own security. These partnerships reinforce Canada's sovereignty over its northern territories. Diversifying alliances is a direct response to shifting U.S.-Canada relations. Canada is signing new trade deals and participating in joint military exercises. The goal: more options in foreign policy and a stronger negotiating position. Carney's strategy signals that Canada is not isolated and has many friends. This proactive approach is about securing Canada's place in a changing world. Building a broader coalition helps Canada protect its independence and interests globally. Trump tried to sweeten the annexation deal by offering Canada free access to his Golden Dome missile defense system. He pitched it as a major security benefit of joining the U.S. The Canadian government swiftly and firmly rejected the offer, declaring sovereignty was not for sale. Ottawa made clear that independence outweighs any military technology. The Golden Dome proposal is another example of Trump's unconventional diplomacy. He tried to shift the debate from politics to practical security. Canada's immediate refusal underscored its commitment to national identity. The message: Canada's independence is non-negotiable, no matter the incentive. The episode reinforced that Canada and the U.S. are allies but remain distinct nations. Prime Minister Carney has consistently and publicly rejected Trump's annexation idea. He promises to defend Canada's independence at all costs, making sovereignty a non-negotiable principle. Carney's calm, measured diplomacy contrasts with Trump's provocations. He reassures Canadians with strong statements and concrete actions, like building alliances beyond the U.S. Carney's government is actively working to protect Canadian sovereignty, not just talking about it. These steps send a clear message to Washington and the world: Canada won't be pushed around. At home, Carney's stance reassures citizens. Abroad, it signals reliability and independence. His leadership is defined by composure and resolve. Carney shows it's possible to defend national principles without escalating conflict. His approach has shaped Canada's response to this unusual challenge. The result, a stable, confident image of Canadian leadership on the global stage. Despite repeated rejections, Trump insists on discussing Canadian annexation. He claims it would benefit both nations, simplifying relations and saving money. Trump's persistence keeps the idea in the spotlight, complicating diplomacy. He uses major media and rallies to keep annexation in the news. Even as his ambassador tries to soften the message, Trump ties annexation to real negotiations. The topic becomes a tool for leverage in trade and defense talks. Canada is forced to constantly defend its sovereignty. Trump's stance ensures the issue remains a source of tension. The debate has become a symbol of the challenges in the modern U.S. Canada relationship. The annexation debate has become a major test for U.S. Canada relations. Trump uses the idea as a negotiation tool, while Carney defends Canada's sovereignty. The clash highlights two very different diplomatic styles: Trump's transactional approach versus Carney's traditional diplomacy. Canada's response has been to assert its independence and diversify alliances. This period may be remembered as a turning point for Canadian self-assertion. Despite tensions, trade and cooperation continue between the countries. The debate is a reminder that even close allies can have deep disagreements. Canada's calm, firm response has shown resilience. The country balances defending sovereignty with maintaining partnership. Canada's careful diplomacy demonstrates strength in the face of unpredictable challenges.